The focus is the many myths of management consultancy. You've probably heard them, but are they true? So let me start with the one that's perhaps the easiest to dispel, which is that, consulting is not just McKinsey, Bain, BCG. It's actually a highly diverse, highly differentiated industry. We're looking at an industry that in the UK alone wants to add 10,000 new consultants over the next 2 to 3 years. So it is a vibrant, large-scale, growing industry. Of course, strategy. It's also technology increasingly. It's also fundamentals of management practice and operations and human resources and finances and all the stuff that makes up running an organization. So the first myth, it's not one thing, it's many, many things. And consequently, there are many, many pathways into it as a career. And it's important to understand that. It's a diverse and differentiated industry. I thought I'd turn to the world of memes. It struck me that so much of what we understand about consulting, actually, even if you work in consulting quite often, is driven by these kind of clichés. It was quite a useful way of capturing some of those memes of management consulting. And the first of these, I guess, very common one of these, is the idea of the junior consultant. But to think that you're getting junior consultants as individual traders is nonsense. Most of the people who are in that position work for the larger firms. They work in very highly structured environments. They work in hierarchical environments. And consequently, we have senior leaders designing projects, designing programs, working with protocols, working with standardized analytical tools. So the idea that you're just getting a junior consultant, well, that's extraordinarily untrue. Now, this is probably my favorite of the lot. So hear a lot of this. So what you'll have is you have consultants, they come into our organization, they walk around, they ask us questions and they tell us what we already know. Show us your watch and we'll tell you the time. I know for a fact that consultants solve some of the toughest problems of biggest companies globally on an ongoing basis. Questions that the client themselves has asked to be solved. Now, a lot of the answers that you're trying to generate are the questions that are being asked. There's no watch. Okay, so you might be asking a lot of people the time, but you're trying to analyze a problem that's much bigger than that. You're thinking about the right data, and that's hard enough in itself, right? Just finding out where the data is. Thinking about analyzing that data. Sometimes it's really unstructured, messy, dirty, partial. How do I do that? That's a skill in itself. And then how do I translate that into something that is value adding? Potentially in terms of recommendations, potentially, again for some firms, in terms of implementation. This is an opioid manufactured by Purdue Pharmaceuticals. And here I'm going to speak to one of those myths where there is a grain of truth, of course, and that is that bad things do happen and that advisors do give bad advice. The nature of professional work is that in making recommendations, you expose yourself to that judgment. That's why it's such an exciting place to be, right? You take accountability for judgments and decisions. McKinsey and company got themselves caught in a number of unprofessional contexts, but a congressional investigation last year revealed significant problematic practice on the part of this consulting firm over a period of 15 years. Purdue Pharma were pushing this product, marketing it aggressively as a pain relief drug, and it was creating a series of addicted individuals across North America. And McKinsey in the end agreed to pay nearly $600 million to settle claims with 49 states in the US. There's a wider myth about almost malign influence of consulting. And of course, there will be problematic exchanges, but clearly a lot of that then comes down to individual professional judgment. And again, another reason why consulting is such a fantastic place to work is it is requiring you to make professional judgments. When we go out to buy professional services, we have an obligation as well as a buyer of the service. The consultant can only do so much to be the upright clarity, problem-focused, right expertise, right person. You have to work as well as a client in buying those services. And so that's the kind of final area I think of really real interest to me is too often we don't put enough responsibility or accountability onto the client who buys the service to do things better, to do things that get the best out of those consulting services. If you've got a great client, then the consultant can perform at a higher level. I think recognize as well that you need to learn how to impose limits. That problem structuring thing that I talked about consultants being good at, Clients need to get rid of that as well. How do I shape my ask of a consultant so that they know exactly what I want and can't spread out? There's a phrase that consultants use sometimes, somewhat pejorative: land and expand. Well, that's a market. I want to sell more stuff. I see more opportunities. I'll put a pitch in. But you as a client fighting back on that, like, again, go to a restaurant. They want to sell you the most expensive wine in the world. You don't want that. We don't consider that to be immoral, that it's on the wine list. We just learn to purchase what we really need. And then finally, this is really challenging because quite a lot of consulting will try and bypass standard processes of bidding and multiple bidders and all the rest of it. But yeah, put a formal bid process in place. Make sure you ask people to compare their products and services so that they don't say, we're unique and therefore you have to pay our unique fee. That's all on the client. And if a client does that, then to my mind, you get that tango, you get that amazing interaction between all those skills, that amazing capability, all that problem structuring, all that depth of experience across industry alongside a client who really knows what they want. And there, enormous value can be generated.